We're live. Welcome back to the tavern. And all right. So, first of all, welcome back, everybody. Raise your glass. Let's have a good evening of fun, D&D, and shenanigans because that's kind of what this is all about. We're gonna try to keep this at. We've got to keep this at an hour tonight because we have some other arrangements we have to take care of tonight. But we're gonna have some fun. So before we do anything, just introduce our wonderful guest, Brina Luna. She is a artist, a D&D player, a enthusiast. Not to mention, um, her artwork has been everywhere. Like see it all over the place. Um, we're trying to get her to do ours too, but right now it's really well done. So you can see some of her art right there on the image there. All four of those pieces are hers. She is incredible. Yeah, I gotta embarrass you a little bit. If I don't, then it won't feel right. So that's the second reason. That's the second reason why we always have alcohol with us when we do these things. Because if people get embarrassed, it makes them feel a little better. So so uh, so as I always do here, but I'm lurking. Hey, that's fine. Lurk all you want, buddy. Um, If you're missing this show, though, you might be sad because you got to check out some of the artwork that she does. It's absolutely incredible. Um, but yeah, so this is Matt's first show as our new co-host. So we're excited to have Matt here as well. So it kind of gives us all new things. And yeah, so before I do everything, always ask my guests three questions. One, what got you into playing D&D or tabletop role plays if you started with something else? Two, how long have you been playing? And three, of course, when did you pick up the mantle of DM? I know that question, but I'll let you tell the audience.
Had at that time
There we
played
go.
like
Is that better? Come on, that
two.
stupid thing is dumb. All right, we're good now.
Is it better?
Restart.
You're
Oh,
Okay, you
okay.
muted.
could hear my goofy butt, but everybody else could not be heard. I'm
Your
trying to
hand is
figure out why
muted.
it's not doing it.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh
restart.
Came to D&D because my dad played the original back in the day,
Oh,
um, but didn't have access to the books. And then like this answers the how long I've been playing question also. Like 7 or 8 years ago, a friend of mine played a one shot and was like, no, we have to do this. So they got the like player's handbook and was like, okay, we're gonna do this thing. And it was a time where like
we all
just
remember our first time playing D&D. Unless you had a
and
very seasoned person who knew what they were doing, we all know our first game of D&D when you're like,
yeah,
What
no
edition
one.
was it? Just out of curiosity, do you know?
It was fifth. It was
It
like
was
right
fifth.
when
Okay.
fifth came out, I believe. So none of us had any idea what we were doing. But I and the girl who was running it were theater nerds. So we're like, it's just acting. It's just, we'll be fine. And then I was like, there's math. Um, I was not warned. And this was, of course, before D&D Beyond, where it does all of that for you.
oh, it's
So
long.
session 0 was intriguing.
Yes.
So that was like 7 or 8 years ago, whenever 5e came out. And then I've already forgot what question 3 was. Oh, DM mantle.
Yeah.
When you picked up the DM mantle.
A month ago.
So I put her on
I
the spot for that one. So we found that out after we had finished our holiday one shot that she was going to be DMing. I begged her and begged her to come hang out with us on Sunday nights, but she has a group of friends who she was DMing for the first time. Not to mention, I give you so many props because to start DMing first with Witchlight is insanity. I've read the book, I've read pieces of the book, and I'm like, there are so many ways this could go. It
Yeah.
would be atrocious to run if I did just jumped in on it. So
Yeah, I see one of my players in chat right now.
and it sounds like you're doing a wonderful job.
We're
So
having a lot of fun.
that's good.
No spoilers, but yeah, that module there it could go a million directions. So I'm like, what are they gonna do? Also, what have I done to myself?
Oh, I
But
know.
it's kind of great. I'm enjoying it more than I thought I would.
Good. That's awesome. That's yeah. That's one of those modules I'm a little actually like staying away from at the moment because
Fair.
all of the extra stuff. Like I know you don't have to run it all, but the idea that
Yeah.
you know the times and the emotions and the shift. I was like, that's so much
It's
extra
a
things I
lot.
have to track and fall. No.
It
It's a
can't be
lot.
worse than the first thing I designed. The first thing I did was custom, and I'd been watching Critical Role the first time I
Of
DM'd,
course you
and
have.
I was
Yeah.
like Craven Edge. You can have Craven Edge. Um, I was like, why not? They were playing at like level 6 or 7. I was like, just sure, here's a Craven Edge.
Oh my
Um,
God.
but the player was just like, well, I'm evil now, so he went to an
Okay.
orphanage and just
Oh
started
God.
because I told him I was like +2 every time you get the last strike on something to your strength until you take a long rest, and
Oh
it
my
just he
goodness.
had like he had like a 70 strength, and I
Oh
was like this
God.
has got to end because at a
Okay,
certain point
Anakin.
I was like at this point you could just like grab the earth and just like
Crush
spin the
it.
earth beneath you because it was just so overwhelming. I was like, well, you're gonna have to sleep eventually. He's like, I will not sleep until my character dies. He's like, this is just how I am until my body can no longer take it.
Oh my
Oh
And it was
my
God.
so
God.
bad because then the rest of the party was irrelevant pretty much
Yeah.
because if you've got a warrior with 70 strength, like
Oh no, that's
at
when you
level
bring
like
up
5,
yeah, that's when you bring somebody up. You're like, oh yes, so with your 70 strength, you've also alerted every bad guy in the
yeah,
entire realm of the universe.
every deity is now paying
Every deity
attention.
is now looking
Yeah.
at you, and they're
yeah.
like, feeble mind. Now you have a
Yeah.
1 in intelligence, so good luck.
But that was my first time DMing though, and so I was like,
Exactly.
and there were like we had like 12 players, and there was like 3 or 4 kids there because some of the players were a little bit older, so they had their kids, and
Oh God.
it was just like, and we played for like 12 hours. It was just my brain.
I remember those days when you could play
Yeah,
for 12 hours, wake up the next morning and go, all right, I'm good. Now as I
It-
DM, I play for like 3 to 4 hours and I'm like, I need a week of a break.
I know.
yeah.
I say that and then I lie because I play 4 games a week right now. So,
But honestly,
Well,
but
like,
they're
and
different games, so I can pull
yeah, that's
myself out
different.
of each world
You're a different
very
character.
yeah,
There are different things happen. That's
exactly.
yeah.
and like Brina, one question I have is like, are you a super plan ahead DM? Because I think James is kind of planning ahead. He likes to have like lists of NPCs and that kind of stuff, and I like to have essentially nothing. A lot of times I don't even have like an overarching plot for my players. I just like let them start doing something and then do it on the fly. Do you like doing that? Do you like
I'm like somewhere in between. I have like bullet points of things that I want to hit in the session, and then everything else is by the seat of my pants.
Yeah,
Like,
that's legitimately that's exactly how I am.
because it, so I tried DMing before and I did like one session and I had so much prepared that I overwhelmed myself and literally had a meltdown. And and that's why I didn't try again for like years, because I was like, I'm just a bad DM. I'm not capable of it. And then I started watching some other people like you guys talking about DMing and not being so like strict. And I was like, well, maybe I do just try again, but just use bullet points. And so far it's been much more effective.
Yeah, the book I recommend to all brand new DMs, and one day they'll hear this, and Sly Flourish will come give us, a little bit of his scratch for bringing everybody we talked to over there. Is that the Lazy Dungeon Master Guide is probably my favorite book and it taught me really well how to prepare properly without having to worry too much. So like some of the stuff that happened over our game last week, I had like 4 bullet points. I was like, they could hit these, they might hit these, and then everything else comes off the seat of your pants,
There was a book that you recommended to me, the monsters.
Monsters Know What They're
doing.
Yes,
yeah,
Monsters Know What They're Doing. It's another great book.
I got that and I just flipped through it before we started our game. I was like, okay, they could encounter this, what's this say? And then I read it, I was like, oh my god, I'm much less nervous about running combat now when you know like how their brain works.
So it's crazy. That book is built so that it explains the math in a like theater person's mentality. So you're like, oh, so he has a 4 in intelligence, so he's not going to do this, but he could still do this. And you're like,
it made it make sense, because before that I was like, why would they ever do that?
Right.
That's why I never put assassins in my games when I'm DMing, because if I was running assassins, if they knock somebody unconscious, they're not going to stop. Like next turn is going to be coup de grace, they're dead, because it's an assassin. They're not there to leave witnesses. They're not there to take chances. So I just don't run assassins because I can't get that out of my head.
On higher level games, I don't see the problem with it. I just think it's one of those things where your players also have to be prepared that that's a possibility. Like if you've made enough people mad and they've paid an assassin or two to come chop you up, that's on you.
That's true. And that's kind of the thing, is it's also about reading your players,
Like I sent my wife assassins at our evil party because they pissed off one of the nobles, and and our wizard got one-shotted as a first shot, and then the rest of the party was paranoid as all get up because the wizard's the strongest character in the group.
I tell you, like my wife, that would piss her off so much if we were playing a game and I like just coup de grace her. She'd be like, why? So it's really also about reading your players sometimes and seeing what they're comfortable with, because some people, especially since we're talking about backstory and bringing characters to life today, some people spend so much time like breathing life into these characters and have their they have there's I forget who it is in the Google Cube Discord, but she has now like written her lineage back for her character like 12 generations.
Are you talking?
I love that.
Natalia and them?
Yes, maybe. I don't remember who it is.
The Heart Foxes?
No. It wasn't. I don't think it was the Heart Foxes. I think it was somebody else. I want to say maybe Michelle. I don't remember. But anyway, they have like 12 generations back.
Pages of backstory.
And it's like
they're really good pages.
I wouldn't want to kill that character, because there's more hours of them working on it than there are of hours of them playing it.
I do agree with that to a point. My thing is at that point you kind of scare away the feeling that there's a possibility of death.
That's true, but that's where I come in when I play, because I play characters who it's okay to put big targets on their backs, because usually they have some kind of goofy quirk and their backstory is pretty open, and they just kind of, like we were talking about before the show, they just kind of take on whatever role the party needs. And if they die, I've got 16 more quirky. If you kill this character, guess what? I have a catfolk character that whose father got killed in an animal stampede by his uncle. I'll just play Simba, like whatever. Just whatever you want to do. I've got something stupid
She's
lined
like,
up next.
You're getting such the glare from Brina. She's like, really? This is what we're doing? We're just picking random. Disney.
Be
stories
prepared then.
Yeah, right. but that's okay too. And that's something that I think a lot of, especially new players, are scared about is, my very first character, I played a little halfling rogue that somebody else had written a stat sheet up for, because I was just in the room playing Magic, and I was like, "Ooh, I want to play this. This is better." And you just start improvising and just doing whatever sounds cool.
No, I completely agree there.
Yeah,
but yeah,
but it's hard.
Yeah, but it's crazy though, because I've got a almost addiction to watching you do your artwork, because it comes out of nowhere sometimes. I'm not even kidding. Like this, the one on the far left on our picture, with the moon. She was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this, and then it was created on the spot, like this whole just growth, and I was like, only I could do that, and then put like imagery to this. Like it boggles my mind how somebody can take that writing and just and make it beautiful, because I can't.
It's fun. That's one of my favorite things since I started like streaming while creating, is that I can give a little bit of the creation of that character to chat, and they throw some like off the wall things at me. I'm like, I mean, okay, they have constellation skin now. Like most of the time,
when I was in there watching that one specifically, because that was the one that we were all talking about as the Moon Druid, and I was like, this is so much fun. Like just watching this character just instantly start to come to life faster and faster, with probably 6 to 9. Sometimes you get a lot of people in there. Sometimes just blurbing out new ideas, and it was awesome.
Just throwing things out there. It's fun.
Yeah. So before we've got about 10 more minutes before we're going to reveal the monster. But if anybody has guesses of what this monster is, the one on the bottom left of the corner of the picture right now, just put the monster in the chat room. There's no prizes yet. We're still working on people to help us with prizes. If you want to be a prize, or if you want to help us with prizes, just let me know or get a hold of Matt. And, we'll get you on board with that. But,
I have an idea for that we'll talk about later.
Sweet. If it would be that monster, that would be dope. But
we'll talk about stuff.
Sweet. But yeah. So yeah, just guess out what that is, and then once I see about 9:30, we'll let that go, and then we'll jump into our second piece. Any big news? Has anybody heard any big news on D&D this week? I haven't really heard anything really.
No, I've been dealing with Olympics news this week, so I don't have anything. Yeah, it's bad. Any big D&D news? The new Critical Role dropped last Friday. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or was it? Yeah, the new Critical Role animation. I've heard that it is
2 weeks ago. I think.
Was it 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah,
I've heard that
there have been 2 drops.
The first 6
now
episodes have already dropped. The next episode technically drops today, but we won't be able to get it on Prime until Friday.
So I've talked about this with you guys before, but I don't think I've talked about it on stream. I was a mod for Critical Role back in campaign 1. About 6 episodes in, I got mod status for Geek and Sundry. And so I've been obsessed with Critical Role since the very beginning. And I've been involved. I know Sax. I've talked to Will Wheaton some. It's been great. But I've been hooked since the very beginning. That's how I had played D&D before, but that's how I kind of got obsessed with the creative end of it. But I've tried to get my best friend who's obsessed with D&D more than I am, way more of a writer, to listen to it. And he just can't. He can't sit there and listen to somebody else play because he wants to be there. But he's been watching like that. He's been watching the animated series. And he's like, this is fantastic. And I was like, well, if you like this, there is this, but many hundreds of hours of it that you can check out. So I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard that it is very good. So even if you're not,
it's really good,
into listening to Critical Role live, which I don't know why you would be listening to our show, if you weren't into watching D&D live, but go check it out if you don't have the patience for that.
This show here is not only about live D&D.
I know, but the channel, most of our stuff is live D&D. But yeah, so I've heard very, very good things about it. I heard it is pretty hyper violent. So if you're not into that,
oh my goodness.
Well, I mean,
yes,
it's Vox Machina.
Yeah, it's
And they
I'm
did
not-
start
I'll admit,
after.
personally, I've never seen any of Critical Role season 1. I started literally at season 2 when it first came out. I had heard, I was deployed at the time, and a guy that I was deployed with was like, "Dude, you got to check out Critical Role." I was like, "Who?" And I found it, first episode, watched Critical Role and of season 2, and that's kind of where I started. So,
Yeah, and that even starts. The show starts after Tiberius left, which was their
Yeah.
Dragonborn,
yeah.
and it was way more graphically violent when he was there because he would use telepathy. Do you remember the telepathy on the big? He basically made these huge ninja stars that were like 2 feet wide.
They were outrageous.
Yeah, and then he would spin them with telepathy really fast, and then he would send them at people, and they had a downed opponent, and he sent it through, and it just carved them in half.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was
gruesome.
and it was like an old woman. So at that point, they began their crusade about Critical Role hates old people.
Yeah. Question, not to like go backwards, but how long were you a mod for them? Because there's a chance that we have like crossed paths multiple times at this point. Before now.
So I was a mod for them. I stopped being active very much right after. This is kind of spoilery, but right after Scanling went on a separate journey is when I started, because that night
I was in there.
That night was
I was in there.
How did I not notice you there? No,
my name was different.
Mine was too. So that might be part of it. That might be part of it. I have changed my handle since.
Yeah.
A few times. For a while, like right after I stopped modding, I changed it to Grog's Beard for a while. I
was not a mimic. That was my handle for a long time.
Oh gosh, I don't. It's been so long. You know, it's been.
It's crazy you had that handle.
4 years.
That's such a common handle for people.
It is.
They were like, "Nope, I had it. It was mine."
It was. It's gone now. It's very gone now.
Now.
Well, that was like the dawn of I don't want to say the D&D Renaissance, because I really think the dawn of the D&D Renaissance, and this might divide people, but was 5e. Was the creation of 5e.
Yeah.
And I know 3.5, you know, I was one of the weird ones that started in 4. And so like I still have this, I'm one of the 6 people that have a soft spot for 4
6
in my heart.
Hold on, before you go any farther, after talking with C4 Labs last week, I have an appreciation for 4th edition.
4th edition was a cross between 3.5 and 5 to me.
Yes.
It really was.
Some really neat tricks with it. We went over a couple of those ideas, like skill challenges, minions, that kind of thing, and I was like, "Oh, these are really neat things you can utilize in 5th edition."
Yeah,
but they just didn't.
And to be honest, I really liked daily powers and counter powers, at wills. I liked how that worked, but it did feel more like a JRPG min-maxy type thing than
That's what
5e.
I heard. It was 5e is pretty strong. Like if you look at 3rd edition and 3.5. When they started getting powers and getting stronger and stronger characters, it was much later in the series, in the level.
Yeah, the only thing I will say,
by 3rd level, you are a god.
The only thing I will say that 5e, in my opinion, has failed a little bit on is like crafting doesn't matter. Nobody worries about professions anymore, really, and that kind of stuff. And there's not as deep a customization, but it's getting there. It's getting there.
It's getting there. And and if you go outside of WotC 5e, it's all over the place.
Yes, that's
people
actually
still want it, but it's just not there completely yet. I mean, Xanathar's tried. They've got some stuff in there on downtime and that kind of thing. Some of it, in my opinion, is ridiculous. Like, you're not going to take 60 years to build a freaking enchanted item. It's not going to happen.
A little crazy.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Is it's for crafting to be useful in 4e or 3.5. You used to have a lot more downtime. Actually, mattered a lot more, so you could work on stuff like that. But yeah, absolutely. With the standards of like it takes a year of casting teleportation circle on the same spot to make it permanent. And you know, it was a little different back in the day when we had permanency, which I don't know that D&D will ever make permanency a spell again. Because it was stupid and broken, but very fun.
It's kind of like Wish. Like, you know, you don't hand Wish out to everybody. Like, it's just
My 20th level wizard, Sin, that I love so much. He had wish, and he rarely used wish because he found that most of the time a meteor swarm spell slot would handle whatever he was trying to accomplish with wish
I mean,
if you placed it correctly. Especially with elemental adept and being an evoc special, you had some silly stuff you could do. A 2-mile radius 40d6 spell is pretty nuts.
yeah.
Especially that you can cast at 2 miles as the range.
Miles.
Yes, because if you're evoc, it doubled the range of evocation spells, which was pretty gross.
All right, Matt, do you know what that monster is?
I don't. I haven't looked at the art in the new books very much. My immediate impression is it's some kind of equine thing, like a nightmare or something like that, but I don't know.
That's close.
I
Do you want to? You ready to spoil it?
but I'll pronounce it wrong.
I mean, since you're the guest, you're gonna pronounce
Okay.
it, and we're all just gonna roll with it. So
Should I say it now?
you can say it now.
Okay. It's a Ki-Rin? Ki-Rin?
Ki-Rin.
Yeah, the Ki-Rin.
Cute.
Ki-Rin.
I don't know
If
what that
anybody
is.
really
What
knows how
is
to
this?
pronounce this thing, they're welcome
Please
to
tell
in
me.
chat. I'm gonna.
Is it some sort of mermaid dragon horse?
Mermaid Dragon. I mean,
Let me,
it's like a dragon, lion, unicorn.
yeah, it's a Chinese mythology based creature.
Oh, it's a
See.
lyre cord.
Oh god, that was funny when you did that.
Yeah, that was a stupid thing that we did. That was great because I critical. If you didn't watch it, I'll tell you about it later.
Creature. It's a
Yeah.
They reside in lofty, elegant Aries. They actually have layer actions and legendary actions.
Ooh.
They're a challenge rating 12, so this isn't just something you just go walk up to and say hi.
How many hit points do they have?
Average hit points is 152.
Just saying,
fun.
Just hit that sucker with a disintegration once or twice.
Yeah, I mean,
No, they're pretty.
It's a 9th level spellcaster.
Woo.
Yeah, it actually has true resurrection.
Oh,
So Heroes Feast, Greater Restoration.
I'm guessing you're not wanting to fight this thing most of the time.
I don't really think it's needed to be fought. It's more
seems like more of a social encounter-y type thing.
Yeah, inside the Ki-Rin is the power to conjure objects up to 3 times per day. So it could create things for you. It could, if you befriended it, you could make water. It can make be nice for animals. It has a good personification to it. It says, really need to have a little bit more time reading these creatures. Some of these.
Does it speak languages, or is it a telepath, or does it just have like a sense of benevolence?
It speaks all language, and its telepathy is 120 feet.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's cute. I love them.
It actually kind of looks, now that I'm looking at it, it looks a little bit Ryan the Last Dragon-y.
If you look at the face, it's definitely a koi fish.
Yeah.
It's definitely a koi fish. It's
koi lion unicorn horse. Unicorn horse.
Yeah. Yep. Goldfish unicorn horse.
Yeah. It's cute and I love it.
But that was her monster.
So you get to pick the monster.
Yeah, so the guest picks the monster every week.
Yeah.
So, and I'm gonna start challenging you every week to guess the monster.
I'm just gonna always say Slod, because the Slods are the one true monster.
Dude, Slods are nasty.
The world needs.
Oh,
Slods are the greatest things in the
nasty.
universe. No, they're the best because they're like Slans and Warhammer, which are the best.
But yeah, so we actually had one person on Instagram guess it. I was blown away. It was the first person to even guess on Instagram, and I was like, holy crap. So shout out to, make sure I get the name.
Camera's real bad out of focus.
I hate it when that happens.
And I don't know enough about fixing that kind of stuff to fix it.
I swear I saw this. Somebody guessed it. Maybe it was on.
You've lost it.
I lost.
Now that person's life is ruined.
Don't say that. Now I feel bad.
Was it Instagram or the TikToks? The
I
club
could be the TikToks too. Truthfully,
While he's looking, Elzar, we're just going to address.
Yeah, you guys can talk.
I do love my Skaven. Skaven are best boys, and I've just started building a Nurgle army, and they do all love each other. They're all just big, happy, gross boys. But sometimes you got to not be a gross boy. Sometimes you got to be a psychic frog that can apparently in the new lore not have lizard friends, but summon them from the ether, so they're not real now, and they're demons instead of frogmen, lizard men. Seraphons are weird. Warhammer's gone in a strange direction with their things. But yeah, oh god, I could do a Warhammer show because I love Warhammer.
Bubbly Kitty writes on
Bubbly Kitty writes. That seems like the kind of person who would know what this thing is.
I think
that's one of my DMs.
Yep,
it was
on TikTok. She popped up and she goes, "Oh, is that a Ki-Rin?" And I
was,
my god! Nope, not saying yet, but
she would.
Instantly, she got it. So, only person between like 3 different channels that was able to figure that one out. So,
again, what was the name again?
Bubbly.
What? Oh, Bubbly
Kitty writes.
Yeah, Bubbly Kitty writes. It was never going to be Sad Frog Boy reads that figured that one out. You know what I mean? That is this isn't one of those things. It had to be this is definitely a creature that Bubbly Kitty writes is reading about.
Yep.
Because this seems like a very bubbly friendly animal.
It really does. I would really I like people to these type of animals are really fun to have as storyteller, giving quests, that kind of thing. Or, hey, my lair is now destroyed for this reason. Go take care of this thing for me.
Yeah, again, I hate to keep referencing Critical Role, but when they did it with the Gynosphinx, that was super great. My mate's missing. Go find my mate, and I'll give you some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And that was pretty awesome.
I think at this point, there's really no reason to be offended when we reference Critical Role, being that they're the largest.
They're just
D&D
integrated
epic, here in the world right now. I will say another big news that we just found out is that D&D Wizards of the Coast just hit $1 billion. So they're the first and only company that's TTRPG that's hit $1 billion.
Wow.
So, we should start doing. I watch these guys that do a Warhammer show called Tom and Ben from the Ogscast, and they do what's new in Warhammer this week. Or what's new in Warhammer last week. We could do what's new in D&D last week.
We try to. I mean, that's what I kind of started doing in the last couple. This year we swapped around a little bit, gave a little bit of structure to Tavern Talks. Last year it was, hey, here's one topic. We're going to talk to about an hour and see if it actually lasts that whole time. This year we kind of got a little bit more structure, but we still offer rants because I like rants.
Rants are fun.
But
I can rant about a lot of things. I have strong opinions on a lot of stuff.
Right? And also the chat. Since you guys are active, if you have questions, throw the questions out. If you want to make sure we answer the question and we can't have any choice of ignoring the question, use your channel points because I'll see it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'll miss it unless you bold it in like crazy colors or something. But yeah, we brought you kind of on here to talk the PC side of things, the player side. Of things.
Yeah.
How do you create? What is your tips, tricks on bringing your characters to life?
So many things.
See?
Okay. So if we start at the beginning, usually when I'm inspired for a character, it's like some random thing happened. Like I see an image of I see someone just out on the street before COVID happened and I'd go walking and I'd see them like doing their job. Like I had a character that was based on this girl I saw in a coffee shop once. I like created this whole story behind her. It was this young girl. She was like probably 14, 15, and she was at this coffee shop with her parents and they had left her alone and she was sitting at the table drinking what I assumed was not coffee, but I don't know, maybe 14-year-olds drink coffee now. I don't know. And
My 15-year-old drinks coffee, so yes.
so maybe it was coffee. And she like had a pastry, and she like was really cute, had those like space bun things, and was like all like wearing all pastel colors. And I'm like, do I know you? No. And am I making a character based on you?
Oh,
Yes.
you better believe.
So I went home and I made this whole like mood board of like her, like images that reminded me of this person that I saw. So I had like pastel swatches and like pastries and like younger girls with that kind of hairstyle and just really cute aesthetics.
When was this?
Is this Jester?
This was
say,
pre.
were you like the original creator of Jester?
Is this Jester?
No, I wish. Oh my god, I wish. I love Jester. No, but this was like pre-COVID when I was still going to coffee shops, so I would have like worked out of the house. So like 3 years ago, probably 4 years ago. Yeah, I work from home now.
Isn't it a weird concept? You're like, I work from home now, but this was a weird thing when I said I worked from home before, and now you're like,
yeah,
I work from other people's homes. We do mobile veterinary service, so we work in other people's homes.
That makes sense. So like I'm a big believer in mood boards. If you're not an artist but you want to get a feel for this character you have in your brain, a mood board is great for that, just compiling images that remind you of this character's like attitude and aesthetic. So that's what I did for her, and I ended up getting to play her in a campaign, which is really fun. But like her name was Kiki.
What did that become? Like
that became Kiki, a changeling, whose father was a Shader Kai and mother was a changeling, and her mother was a chef, and she wanted to also be a chef but in a different avenue. So like her life goal was to be the best pastry chef in all of Waterdeep, because that's the campaign that I played her in, was Waterdeep Dragonized. She was also a shadow sorcerer, because I just thought like it would be really interesting if this extremely like bubbly, lovable pastel character was a shadow sorcerer. Like, where does that darkness come from?
So does that mean like when she did shadows, they were pink?
Sometimes. Sometimes she disappeared into like pastel shadows that were either like pink or purple, sometimes blue. But she became that, and you know what? She did it. she got her bakery and ran the other baker across the street out of town.
Very nice.
But yeah, that all started from a random person in a coffee shop. Other times someone will say a random thing, and it's like, how far can we go with that? Which I feel like that's everyone I know has done that at least once. Mm-hmm. Like, what's the most interesting wizard you can make?
Right.
Yep.
So this is kind of the interesting thing, is I talk to a lot of people when we talk about character creation, and when I'm going through players to understand. I always tell people, come up with a core concept first. Don't go straight into class, race. Like, come up with a core concept and then see what makes sense with that, because that's what you're actually going to enjoy playing. You're not going to enjoy playing if you just say, hey, I'm going to be this fighter and it's going to be an elf. Okay, you're an elven fighter, but what are, like, really,
what are they?
What is this? Like, I mean, and some people like to play that way. They like very quick and they want to move it. They don't want a lot of things heading behind them. But if you're really trying to bring a character to life, that's one thing I always tell people, like, come up with a core concept before you even look at stats, before we roll anything, before we look at the book at all. What's your core concept? If your core concept is you want to be the best flower maker or the best florist in the world, go for it. We'll figure out from there. You know, Druid's probably your best option, but you do you, girl. So
So I'll offer a different opinion on that.
Go for it.
Because for instance, James, you were laughing about when I created the fighter that I played for the Christmas.
I love it though.
So the way that I came up with that is like, I want to build something that is horribly statted for what it does. And so I was like, well, how about a fighter with 8 strength and like 10 dexterity? And so then I was like, well, how do I make that happen? It was like, okay, well, there's a weird way where you can get you can take a feat that lets you take Druid magic at first level. So I took
Right.
Shillelagh. So then I had Shillelagh, and I was like, so now I had built this fighter that was then using Wisdom as its casting mod to do physical damage, which was really cool. But then I was like, this doesn't make, like, why is he like this? And so I came up with the idea that, like, maybe his mother was a druid and she taught him some druidic magic. And he was also a level of cleric. So he had some druid stuff, some cleric stuff, and some fighter stuff going on. So
Thank you,
what?
Malnorm. We have hit
Yeah.
300, we just hit 300 followers.
Sweet.
Mal.
So I was like, how do I tie all this in? So I was like, well, his mom's a druid, which led him to really fall in love with healing and taking care of people. So he started to become a cleric. But then his father passed away, and this training sword that his dad had given him long ago started talking to him. And so that eventually morphed into, he gets his dad's armor, and his dad's armor is actually where his dad's spirit is, because James let me pick an overpowered stupid item to play in that. And so I took the adamantine armor, which lets you not have criticals done against you. So then it became like every time he swings, his mother's magic transforms this sword into
something that actually could hit something.
Something could hit it, and then his father's expertise guides his hand to strike where things were useful. So it went from this character who was really flat, it's just like, I want to make a dumb fighter with low dex, to something that had like a backstory about his mother's influence in his life and kind of him rebelling against his father's violence. And eventually he just kind of gets drawn back in because he's trying to do right, and he's realized that he can use this curse to help others. So, I mean, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird, the different ways that people build stuff.
I think both ways are great. I think it's the fact that you fleshed every piece out that really was cool, though, because you're like, hey, I want to play a character who's extreme, and you still had a concept. That was the thing. You weren't immediately going to class race. You're like, nope, I want a concept of, something that makes no sense but still works.
Yeah.
Now, I would not suggest that for your first character.
Don't do that.
Oh, no.
Will probably explode.
I think the most important thing is just starting with a concept that you're going to have fun playing, be that what their class or whatever is, or what their like attitude, like basic backstory is. Because if you start from something that you already enjoy, you're going to continue to have fun as you go throughout developing them, and then eventually as you go throughout playing the game, because you have a solid lock on who this character is.
And I hate to say this, but you also have to consider what your party is playing, kind of have that talk, because if you want to play really cool edgelord, like evil, sad assassin boys, I always call James's characters, and the rest of your party is playing chaotic good or lawful good, whatever they're playing, you're just going to clash, and they're going to step on your toes of what that character you had designed and wanted for them, and you're going to step on their toes. And so it's just going to be this weird, like, toxic relationship,
and forth, trying to understand or where to be fit in.
Some people can pull that off.
Yeah.
Some people can pull off being the loner in the group who's like completely opposite. But if you are playing that weird outcast, you need to have a reason that you're cooperating with these people and you haven't just bailed. Like, because what's one thing I really love about GUI Cube is you guys are all in the Hanatas. So you're all blood touch. That's the commonality that you have. So I really like in that situation, you can kind of make any character concept work, because you can be, if you're evil and everybody else is good, you need them to survive. Simple as that. Just selfish. If you guys die, they're going to come after me next.
Right.
So I have to at least make nice with you guys and deal with it. And as a DM, that's something you can help. That's something you can help your party with. Give them if you have somebody who's convinced they want to play this, give them a reason why it makes sense. Something like that.
I think that definitely steps back on your GM, though, to be able to. Mm-hmm. But this also goes back to the fact that if you're not building your characters with your game masters, you're probably not doing it right.
Yeah.
It's really hard to have everybody come to the table at the beginning of the game
on the same page
and not be on the same page, because that's the problem that people
I have been in parties like that. It is stressful.
Yeah. Now, if you're doing one shots or, it is what it is. And I believe one shot should have one common goal that you should have at least told your party beforehand. If you're like, hey, we're going after the treasure at the end of the tunnel. Okay, cool. build a character that's going to want to go after treasure at the end of the tunnel. If we're going after, if we're going to go assassinate the president, then let's build characters that are going to make sense to that process. Whatever you're doing, don't always go for just, I want to play this character, because if you don't know what the story is, case in point, the ranger is a detriment to the world if he can't get in his terrain. That's like the one class I tell people, especially if you're playing a ranger. I think rangers are great as long as the GM knows what the ranger is and you guys have played together with it. Because if you're going to do an urban ranger and you're never in the city, guess what? Your ranger sucks.
Problems.
So,
but sometimes there's fun in that suck too.
There is fun. There is sometimes fun in that suck too. You're right, and that's the difference. But a lot of people don't like that suck because they're like, I can't use any of my abilities.
Especially if you're a new player.
Is wrong. Yeah, especially if you're a new player. And a lot of times that's who we're talking about is newer players who haven't been through 60,000 characters.
Yeah.
And,
I'll tell you something that was fun that our DM did one time with us for character building. We started out as level 0 characters. We were classless. So none of us had classes. Mm-hmm. None of us, we all had base 10 stats and everything. And we just started on this role play thing. And we were going through, and then as the characters were interacting with the world around them, he'd be like, take a +1 to your dexterity permanently. If you succeeded on a skill check doing this. And then if you were being really charismatic, he'd give you a bonus to this and that. And we ended up playing this through this little adventure. And then at the end of it, we'd all gone from just these blank generic villagers to everybody had kind of picked up personalities, and there had been a group dynamic formed. And so then we picked classes. And after we picked our classes, then we kind of futzed with the numbers a little bit to get so that we had workable characters, and we just had cool little characters like that.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Mal.
We appreciate it.
Not only was he our 30th,
300th.
Sorry, 300th. My numbers are slurring here. I'm already halfway through my beer, so it could be a possibility here.
We're in the tavern. It happens.
It happens. But he's not only that, but he's also a sub. So thank you very much. That's super helpful. That keeps the lights on and keeps the drinks coming. That's really all it can do right now. So, but yeah, I really feel bad for the guy, the last game board who's a forest ranger and wasn't in the woods. Like,
that's really upsetting.
It is sad. It is upsetting.
I mean, eventually
the first character, but like I said, it's one of those learning experiences you get.
Yeah.
You can, one of two things is what you're going to learn from that. Either one, your GM's a dick, like straight up, or you just get to learn a little bit about your character that you've got to figure out how to get that
in the class.
In the class,
like how important those kind of things are.
Better.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I tell people that all the time. I actually just got another message this week about another game that somebody wants me to play with them, and I was like, I don't know if I can run another game. Goodness gracious, I'm gonna be doing this full time here soon. And I can't because that's not going to make the money I needed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I am going to be hopefully starting a Patreon, and that will help a little bit. But I don't think it's going to be anywhere near the next year or two before that even would be a possibility.
But really what it boils down to is communal storytelling, right?
Exactly.
Yep. Communication.
And there's a lot of people, though, that don't agree with that, though. A very famous YouTuber out there, DM's Lair, does not believe it's community storytelling. It's a video. It's a game, and I'm like, some people play it that way, some people don't, and
that's valid too.
It's really your way of playing. Make sure you're finding a group that plays the way you play, because it can really make it or break it with this game.
I'm going to be a little bit curmudgeonly and say he's wrong.
Okay.
That's very much me. Is I'm all about the storytelling and the weird stuff, and
both of us right. So I mean, that's kind of our we are storytelling.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm a little biased, but man, just how boring would it be if he was? And I played in those games where it was just like they wanted, especially when we played 3-5. It was like, I can math harder than you. I made a kineticist mixed with this fighter. This is that. I did 178 damage. I'm like, oh, that's great. And he's like, then I get my second and third attack. And I'm like, oh no! Like, I shoot a gun, and I think it's fun to shoot a gun. I have a cool trench coat and a neat hat. Like that's my thing.
I
But that would just break my head just dealing with that all day, especially because we had an artificer in the group who was constantly making these incredibly specific magic items that made them do 2 to 3 times the damage that they were doing. And I was like, man, I'm doing like a D12 plus 10, and you guys are doing like 4,000 damage.
Yeah,
But
I
I
agree.
don't.
Communal storytelling is it wouldn't say it's the lazy way, but it is a way to make sure that you're not putting all of your effort into it. You're, I think that in um, props out, I'm going to give my one little blurb out to them. Not only do they have an amazing product coming out that we'll be testing here soon, I run every other week on Tuesdays with those guys over there at Last Game Board, and we do it a completely improv game. So if you want to see what it looks like to not know anything about what you're getting into until you arrive on set, that is what we do every Tuesday, and at 8 o'clock Eastern. And this week I was given a Dragonborn Dreadnought, and I had no idea I was jumping into it. And I was the hated character. I got killed by 2 of my party members.
Oh no!
But it was fantastic because we get our characters handed to us that moment. So like I had no idea what I was playing, and it was a lot of fun.
See, that's what I like. I guess it's because my original DM never wrote anything. I mean, he wrote literally nothing when we sat down at the table. He didn't know what we were going to do that night, and we didn't know what we were going to do that night. And I thrive in chaos. But you know that, James. I am an agent of chaos.
Yeah. See, I love those games, and I hate those games because my thing is unless you have the right party, it can get really boring really quick.
It can.
Like I said, but that's where I use the lazy DM template. It helps me a little bit. It gives me, okay, these are the monsters that you could run into. These are the items you could find. These are the secrets I want you could discover, that kind of thing. And like I said, those are the types of things that I jot down on a piece of paper, and I'm like, okay, this is how the game is going to kind of run, and then these are the scenes that I hope to hit. And then I have like 3 or 4 in there that's like, these are where the encounters could be placed. And that's kind of helps me with the whole idea of, having game boards for what I need, having the maps I need early on. And I'm only prepping 3 or 4 maps compared to prepping, 15
Yeah.
for every little thing that could happen. And for the most part, it's just been, and that kind of works because as long as you're hitting points in a game that excite your players, you can almost, I'm not saying this 100% of the time, but you can almost railroad them with them being excited on that railroad because it's things that they wanted to see in the first place. But that just comes down to really good storytelling. So
Yeah.
And also check out Last Game Board. I bought one at Gen Con because those things are really cool. And that was before we did any of our sponsorship stuff with them.
It was.
I told James, I was like, I bought this neat thing. And then he was like, I'm going to go check it out. And then we ended up doing like a sponsorship thing, but they're really cool, especially in the COVID worlds.
Yeah.
Being able to link up on Foundry, Roll20, whatever you're playing on is real neat.
And then on top
especially
of that,
since I have a
there's
3D
also,
printer.
like, they've also got card games, other board games, all this crazy stuff on there, and I can't wait to get you guys one. Oh, I know, so excited. I'm hoping we can continue to grow that partnership, and I can get more than one, so I can kind of stack them. So when we start getting all the terrain out here, I can build a huge.
Yeah, I'll get on printing some terrain soon, but I can't wait to get mine. They're really so cool, and like.
And we can actually remote play too.
Yes.
So that'll be cool too. So when we're doing like Tuesdays Misfit games, we can actually be playing on the game board each.
Yes.
Actually able to play.
But yeah, I think the point of the whole show that we've gotten to is everybody does things kind of different ways. Mm-hmm. There's neat ways to build characters. Some people like if you sat me down at a table, James, and said, I don't know what you're going to play, we're going to figure it out as we go. I would be completely fine having no stats when I sat down at a table and just kind of figuring it out. And some people want to have a really regimented backstory and like have all this really deep detail because people want different kinds of experiences from D&D. But that's what's so great. Yeah. And those characters can play together. The really off the cuff, wild, spur of the moment made up character can play just as well. And a lot of times they complement each other because you get somebody that has this really molded backstory, and you can kind of adapt your story to fit in so that it's complementary and kind of supports their story.
Agreed.
And that's really cool. That's one of the great things that D&D brings us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We are
Sorry.
gonna have to
Yeah.
wrap up
Yeah.
here shortly.
We're getting
because,
real close on time.
Yeah,
Just realized the time.
we gotta actually run into another meeting as soon as we're off of this thing. I'd rather stay
Yep.
here and talk, but it's for anybody that's gonna be there this year. This is our meeting for Gen Con, so we're going to Gen Con this year. Matt and I will both be there. We'll be GMing. My goal is to bring the game board for my GM stuff. That's my plan. So we'll have
You'll have to talk to an event organizer about that, James, but I know one you can talk to.
I already have talked to that person about this.
Okay.
So
I'm hoping to be there and meet you guys in person
That
this
would be
year since I missed you
awesome.
last
It'd be
year.
great.
yeah,
I'll be there pretty much, at least I will. James probably will too. I'll probably be there pretty much all the time in Gooey Cube's game room because it looks like we are getting our room again this year.
sweet.
Our own private room again this year, which will be really sweet.
Some secrets that Matt and I know that we can't spoil just yet.
Yeah. But also, if you can come to Genghis Con in Colorado,
Yeah,
I
if you're on
pimped
the
this
West
on,
Coast, we're gonna
yeah.
be out there too. So
and I pimped this on on Sunday stream, but I'll tell you as well, the company that I 3D print for, that I own that 3D prints, we printed 200 minis so far that are going to be given away to everybody who walks in the door that are Gooey Cube flavored. We've got characters from their campaign. We've got Alphinius himself. And then we're also printing some other stuff to give away. There's going to be thousands of dollars worth of prizes given away
awesome.
at the Gooey giveaway. But yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then finally, because I didn't want to throw our main title sponsor, our monthly sponsor this week, or for the month of February. If you guys haven't seen this yet, you definitely need to. I just gotta hide it. There we go. Yeah, so those are our customized dice trays right there.
Yeah, and they're real nice.
They are amazing.
They're so pretty.
They are so pretty. We did, like I said, I tell everybody all the time, it was really a challenge. We said, hey, I'm going to give you this really like normal one. So we did our basic logo, and it's all like 4 colors, and then they put the pearl around it, which made it pop. And then
That's my favorite one.
And then I challenged them, and I said, hey, I'm going to give you my group shot, which is so many colors. And it came out pretty darn good. I don't see any errors whatsoever, and that's a lot of color.
James, we gotta go.
Yeah, we gotta go apparently. So I'm getting that out to you. So everybody, raise your glass. We're gonna call last call. Until next time, we will see you guys next Tuesday, as we are canceled this week for the Super Bowl. Boo! But too many things going on, and we will see you guys next Tuesday for Tuesday Night Misfits. So until then. Cheers.
Cheers.
James, which Discord are we supposed to be in? I thought it was already off. Okay. Oh yeah, we are. There's not too many. Hello. Hello.
Okay. Bye. Thanks for having me. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, here, 2 seconds, if you have it. Going live. Okay. Yep, it says it's up. Are you doing it through your dashboard or just through chat? Okay. Yep, /raid. The bottom right on the keyboard /. Okay. Bye.
Inside the pyramid are sandstone, so it's going to be a pretty. It's not going to be as. It's not going to have the table presence of the carnival because it won't be as colorful, but it's still going to be pretty awesome.
Some big cool toys.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, I think we have a good number of people here, so we'll get started. There's other people that have been invited, so we'll see who's able to show up, and I'll try and keep this to a minimum amount of time. Thank you all for taking your time on a weeknight to cover this. We are 2 weeks